And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Becky Bronstein, and I'm the Resilience Fellowship Specialist with Washington Sea Grant. I'm really excited to share a bit about Washington Sea Grant Fellowships with you today, with a particular focus on the Coastal Resilience Fellowship. Like all Sea Grant programs, Washington Sea Grant advances our shared mission of sustaining a healthy coastal environment and economies, in part through the facilitation of high impact fellowship programs. So that's why I get to share with you today about the purpose of fellowships and how they can be supportive for both the fellows and the communities that fellows are interacting with. And so you're aware this all falls under the Sea Grant strategic focus areas of environmental literacy and workforce development. So in our time here today, really three areas. We'll start off with Washington Sea Grant 101. I'll share a bit about all things what is Washington Sea Grant. Then we'll dive into the Coastal Resilience Fellowship, and then we'll finish out with a Q&A. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with Washington Sea Grant. So, a little bit more about who we are. Washington Sea Grant, or WSG, envisions healthy, productive, and resilient coastal and marine ecosystems that sustain Washington's rich cultural and maritime heritage, vibrant coastal communities, clean waters and beaches, prosperous fisheries and aquaculture, diverse wildlife, and an engaged public. So, really, all things marine and coastal in Washington, we get to be involved with. I'll put the direct link to our values in the chat for your reference if you'd like to take a closer look. And Washington Sea Grant is one of 34 state programs throughout the US and the US territories. So we're a part of a national network, all funded by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Sea grant programs differ in their size and structure across the US and territories. Many of them, but not all, are housed at universities. WSG is housed at the University of Washington, but we serve all of Washington with many partners all across the state. So, a bit about our model. We implement our NOAA funding at the state level in response to the needs of coastal communities and ecosystems. To do this, all Sea Grant programs support research, education, and community outreach and engagement activities that are aligned with our mission, all while leveraging robust and creative communication strategies to disseminate knowledge and inspire responsible use of our marine resources. So we really sit within these overlaps within the Venn diagram. Washington Sea Grant's composed of many people. We have supported researchers and students. We have a team of extension agents. We have a team of educators. We have general and science communicators and operations staff. And as mentioned, many, many partners around the state and the greater region, which cross over local and state agencies, nonprofits, tribes, private industry, as well as many academic partners. We put out every other year a request for proposals in order to distribute around $2 million in grant funding for marine science and education research. We fund work by researchers from universities, nonprofits, tribes, and other groups in Washington state with the goal of advancing knowledge that helps people to sustainably use and enjoy marine resources. We also have advisory services. So our outreach and extension staff participate in research and social science. They're conveners of many types of consortiums and working groups, and they provide numerous types of services across all sorts of topics, including fishery conservation and bycatch reduction, water quality, small oil spill and sewage pollution prevention, ocean acidification, invasive species like European green crab, marine safety, tsunamis, community development, and much more. I mentioned our communications. We have a wonderful communications team that uses print, digital, and social media platforms to distribute all sorts of information to all sorts of audiences around the state. We also have education programs. We have what's called Orcable, which is a regional high school marine science knowledge competition, which is a part of the National Ocean Sciences Bowl. We have NOAA Science Camp, which is a summer camp for 11 to 13-year-olds. And we also do curriculum development for programs like the King Tides program. And while you're all likely here today is to learn more about our fellowships. So, what's pictured here is just a snapshot of host agency partners and fellowship alumni, really trying to highlight the vibrant community behind our fellowship programs, the many people and organizations who invest in, mentor, and help launch the next generation of coastal and ocean leaders. So now we'll continue to talk a little bit more about fellowships, and then we'll dive in specifically about the Coastal Resilience Fellowship. But as far as why engage with a fellowship, listed here are some of the benefits to hosts in participating in the high impact two-way exchange that we think of with fellowships. Hosts really get to gain a fresh perspective when they bring in fellows. It's added capacity, so these fellows are bringing meaningful contributions to your organization. This gives you an opportunity for innovation to try new ideas without the long-term commitments of a permanent employee. Though, of course, we're hopeful that that fellow could potentially stay on with your host organization. And it's also a low administrative burden. So Washington Sea Grant takes on that administration. So that's not something that you have to worry about. And lastly, we're bringing in that kind of mission-driven, enthusiastic professional who would hopefully be able to contribute meaningfully to your mission and to your organization. So that's on the host side. Likewise, on the fellow side, as part of that two-way exchange, fellows gain exclusive access to high-level people, places, decision-making processes that early career or those pivoting in their career might not always have that opportunity for. We really value mentorship in fellowship, so the fellow will have the opportunity to work with someone at the host organization really closely and have that high touch mentorship experience. There's so much opportunity to build meaningful relationships, not just at the host organization, but across all the different partners that a fellow gets to engage with. Each fellow has dedicated professional development funds, so they have the funding and they should also have the time and flexibility within their role to participate in hands-on skill building learning. And as a fellow, they also get to join this lifetime National Sea Grant Network, which has been pretty incredible to see how fellows seem to be everywhere across all sorts of organizations and agencies and have that connection. And so we're really grateful for that more integrated, comprehensive network that fellows get to engage with. To put some numbers to this, over the past 5 years, Washington Sea Grant Fellowship programs have awarded $4.3 million in support to 102 students and early career professionals. This was made possible because of partnerships with more than 50 tribal, state, federal, and nonprofit organizations. And during this 5 year period, we have a 92% success rate of state program fellows moving directly into permanent positions post fellowship. To share some more numbers with you, also within this 5 year period, Washington Sea Grant State Fellowship Program leveraged about $400,000 in NOAA federal funding, and we're able to transfer that along with the $2.3 million in host agency support into 472% return on federal investment. So this really shows that a little goes a long way, and these fellowship programs are able to amplify the Sea Grant mission while also amplifying the missions of host organizations and the fellows that get to engage with them. So here are all of our 10 fellowship programs that Washington Sea Grant administers. 6 of them are state-based opportunities. 4 of them are nationally competitive programs that connect top talent with federal partners and the broader Sea Grant network. I've highlighted the Coastal Resilience Fellowship, which we'll talk a little bit more about right now. So this slide shows the key characteristics of the fellowship. We are a sub-awardee of Washington State's NOAA Climate Resilience Regional Challenge, or the CRRC. We launched the Coastal Resilience Fellowship last year in 2025. This is a 2 year fellowship with funding for 3 cycles at 5 fellows per cohort. So we have just launched the host application for the second cycle of this funding for the 26 to 28 fellowship. Its focus and really the whole spirit of this fellowship is around building capacity for coastal resilience projects with local organizations. It's at no cost to host to participate, which is a unique characteristic often for fellowship programs. And its focus is on what we call emerging professionals or those who are postgraduate or pivoting in their careers. The first cohort of the fellowship focused geographically on Washington's Pacific coast, and this coming cycle will be open for all coastal geographies in Washington. As far as host eligibility, tribes, local nonprofits, municipalities, special districts, conservation districts, and other local entities working on projects focused on coastal resilience along Washington's coastline. So, any sort of local organization or tribe on Washington's coast are eligible for this fellowship. At this time, state and federal entities are not eligible for the fellowship. However, we very much encourage partnership with these entities to further projects and support the fellow. So, if a given state or federal entity had strong relationships with a local organization, that could be an opportunity to engage with a fellow. And here also are the logos of the 25-27 host organizations. So, the types of projects or skills that a fellow may engage with for the Coastal Resilience Fellowship are listed here. This might be community engagement and meeting facilitation. It might be stakeholder engagement, which could be convening of groups, grant writing, strategic project planning, vulnerability assessment. I'd add adaptation planning, action planning for community resilience and safety events. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but hopefully gives a sense of the types of projects fellows could engage with. The point to emphasize here too is that our review panel really looks to the host organization and defers to you all how you define coastal resilience for your community. Some organizations may highlight, a more coastal hazards lens. Some might highlight more economic impacts, maybe cultural impacts. Maybe there's more of an education or awareness side. We really welcome you all to tell us how you see coastal resilience and what your capacity need is for that area. And the other key piece I think here to share is think about that the projects are for an emerging professional to meaningfully contribute to within those 2 years. So we're not looking for projects that are scoped for a full consulting team or someone who, has a high graduate level degree and has worked at NOAA for multiple years, ideally. We're looking for folks who may have touched in on those two areas that I just mentioned, but also could have a meaningful contribution and be within their skill set and background and be able to learn, but also meaningfully contribute. To give you a sense of the past projects, here are the inaugural Coastal Resilience Fellows and hosts, and I can share a little bit about each one of them. Again, this is an exhaustive list of the types of projects that could be out there, but hopefully can give you a sense of the types that were selected in the first cohort. So we have Annabelle Baker, who is with the Chinook Indian Nation and the Columbia Land Trust. This is a co-host model, which is totally possible if that's of interest to your host organization. Annabelle is working on land back transfers as well as habitat management planning. Lise Kelsey is with the Quinault Indian Nation. She's with the Emergency Management Department, and her work is mostly around emergency management planning and a risk assessment. Maddie Lucas is with the Shoalwater Bay Indian Tribe. She has a strong tsunami and earthquake background, so she's been working on community resilience and safety planning work. This looks like evacuation planning in the event of an event like a tsunami or Cascadia earthquake. Rich DeSanto is with the Pacific Conservation District. He is helping to facilitate public workshops for the Grayland Plains Water Resilience Project, which happens to also be funded through the CRRC. He also has a landscape design background, so he's been supporting some of the restoration planning work. And Tegan Darmody is with the North Olympic Development Council. He's doing strategic and project planning with the Strait Ecosystem Recovery Network. So that's a lot of convening of stakeholders and building relationships and coordinating, facilitating meetings. He's also researching on-site septic solutions and hopes to publish a white paper on the topic. So a little more detail about what will the review panel look for, since we are trying to be as broad as possible and welcome all sorts of different projects and defer to the host to tell us what coastal resilience means to you. But we do have criteria and a rubric that all applications will be scored upon. First and foremost, and this is more of a weighted category, we're looking for a clear capacity need. So the fellow should address a coastal resilience capacity challenge or challenges. The whole focus of this fellowship is to build capacity for coastal resilience. So the review panel is especially looking for organizations that, haven't been able to move a project forward because of lack of capacity, or they haven't had time to do something because of that lack of capacity, or maybe the project's so big and overwhelming that it'll be really supportive to have that additional capacity. So we're looking for that capacity need. We're also looking for a clear project scope for an emerging professional. So that looks like a clear idea and boundaries for at least one primary project, though if you have multiple project ideas, you're welcome to include them. That includes like a clear timeline, clear outcomes. We're looking for reasonable activities for the fellow. So that refers to not that full consulting team, for example, um, and worth noting, we recognize that a fellow could help determine a particular scope, timeline, outcomes. So applications that share that goal, that the scope of the fellow project is to help us get to a clear timeline, clear outcomes, all of those things. That's also okay to share. So we understand that's a little bit meta, but if there's clarity around seeking the clarity, that's something that we would welcome as well. We also want the focus to be on coastal resilience. So hopefully that's clear within the title of the fellowship. So again, we look for that to be defined by the host organization, but that could look like some of any of the following. That might be projects that address specific coastal hazards, or it might be a need to further a project around coastal resilience that's already going on. It might be more around community connections. So maybe the project is connecting with community needs, but the fellow is furthering that work and trying to build that resilience in the connections within the community. Maybe it's about building new partnerships and building new ones or deepening existing partnerships outside of the organization. So, with other organizations is something that we would be interested in and would see within the realm of coastal resilience. We want to see that the application is showing that the organization has a welcoming environment as well as clear outcomes of what success looks like for the fellowship. So, this might look like really sharing how you all create a welcoming environment for all. It also might look like you all sharing transparently what success means for you, whether that is like quantitative, more SMART goals, or if that's something more qualitative and more about how the fellow ends their fellowship and what success might look like from your point of view. And lastly, in part of that two-way exchange, we're looking for valuable growth opportunities for the fellow. So this is looking at experience, the host organization's experience working with emerging professionals, or the applicant sharing with us how if you don't have that experience, how you would go about finding that experience and how you could be supportive for the fellow. And Washington Sea Grant, as well as partners, will be providing all sorts of professional development opportunities for the fellow, but we would like to hear from the host as well, what ideas you have, what networking opportunities might be possible, what additional professional learning might you be able to provide at the host. Other considerations we do want to share with you all. So listed here are other thoughts the review panel will consider outside of the host application. And this is really to build a comprehensive, thoughtful 26-28 host cohort. This includes considerations such as, but not limited to, range or a diversity of types of organizations and locations represented. We also may consider synergies across cohorts, so fellows and hosts have an opportunity to work with one another with that overlapping year. We look for if the project might trigger environmental compliance and might have to go through any sort of additional permitting processes. We're thinking about this because though the fellowship is 2 years, we don't want the fellow's ability to contribute to projects be too hindered by, the a longer process of permitting and such. So that's a consideration we'd have for the whole cohort, if there could be an unevenness between a fellow's experience. We might look for a range of hosting or mentorship experience so hosts can learn from one another. And lastly, we may look for a range of types of projects and skills, or a theme of types of projects so fellows can learn from one another. So, what that might look like is, say, by our applicant pool, we tend to have a lot of applications that say emphasize emergency planning. That could be a cool opportunity for the review panel to see, oh, all these fellows can learn from each other in these different facets within this theme of emergency planning. Or on the other side, it could be a benefit, depending on the projects, to see a diversity of a set of projects. So, likewise, fellows can still learn from one another as they dip into the different projects and professional learning together. I'd say with our current cohort, there's kind of a mix of both of those. Some fellows have pretty similar projects or are emphasizing similar skills, where across the whole cohort, we also still have a diversity of sets of projects and various methods and skills that they would have to utilize to be successful. And with that, we definitely encourage you to check out the position descriptions from the last cohort. Again, want to keep emphasizing this isn't the end all be all, since we've only done it for 1 year, but it's a great example for you of the types of positions, types of projects that are interesting to this fellowship. And we're almost at the Q&A, just the last couple slides here. If selected, the Coastal Resilience Fellowship host must do the following. We have a simple host agreement that we ask all the hosts to sign, and this is more getting on the same page of the expectations with supporting the fellow. We ask that the host confirm a position description, which will be similar to what's currently on the website now. So it's just a couple page document that looks similar to a job description. This is for fellow applicants to see and share their preference for different host organizations. We also asked the host to record a low stakes 10-minute presentation describing their host organization and any details of their fellowship position. We learned from the first year that fellow candidates really appreciated that 10-minute presentation to get to see and learn more about their host organizations that they might want to apply to. They will be posted on the website. We ask the host organizations, if possible, to participate in the final candidate interviews, which would be up to 5 45-minute interviews with a 1 hour discussion and ranking of the interview candidates during one day within the window of June 22nd to June 25th. Certainly a long day, but we try to condense it. So being mindful of schedules. So that might look like for a given host organization, all their interviews and discussion happens on June 23rd, and that would be the only focus for interviews for them. And then hosts will also participate in a virtual 1 hour host orientation, likely in August. The fellowship begins in September, so this gives us a little bit of time to get everything sorted over the summer with the fellow hiring process, by this host orientation, and then give hosts about a month or so to get settled before their fellow arrives. And our last slide here before we turn to Q&A. Next steps. So the application is live. You can download this fillable PDF from our website. I'll put the link to the Coastal Resilience Fellowship website in the chat. This is due Thursday, February 26th at 5 p.m. We ask that you download this, fill it out, and then save it as a PDF, and then email it to our fellowship's email, which is sgfellow@uw.edu. For your awareness, the week of March 16th is when the review panel will conduct Zoom meetings with the top candidates and make final selection. So please keep that in mind if you're submitting an application to hold some time during that week of March 16th so we can hopefully get a hold of you and ask some conversations or ask some questions. This is more of a conversation. We're not really framing these Zoom meetings as an interview per se. It's more just clarifying questions and that sort of thing. And lastly, by attending this info session, we'll add you to our mailing list just to receive updates on the fellowship. I see some familiar names here, so you might already be on the list. If you don't want to receive those updates, just feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to take you off. And with that, I will open it up for questions. Thank you so much for your time.